joining us today. There's a few new faces here, so for those of you who don't know me, my name is Josh Raftery. I'm a visiting instructor in photography here. Over the last 2 semesters, our senior photo students have been working towards their BFA thesis. They've been working really hard at it and doing a lot of research and a lot of making. So they've been developing conceptually driven work, but also learning about new ways to talk about their work and also writing about their work. So over the last 2 weeks since the semester started, they've been preparing a presentation for you all, so you can kind of get a glimpse into what they're working on, what they're researching, and also how they envision their BFA thesis being presented. So they prepared a brief slide presentation and also an elevator speech, but also a mock-up, so you guys can sort of get an idea of what their work is going to look like. I know the lighting isn't that great here, but they'll have it available for you to look at down here on the floor later. So without further ado, to kick us off today, Mr. Edwin Averette.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Josh, for that introduction. While I am a photography senior here at the School of Art and Design, I'm also an archaeology student over in the anthropology department. My research actually began several years ago. It's an ongoing hobby of mine. I started doing family histories, not just through the ancestry you see on television, but interviewing the older generation in person. Their ages range from 80 to even 102, and I was told stories that were not only told by them by their grandfathers, but maybe their grandfather's fathers. So I was hearing stories from the Civil War period. And this really mattered to me because I think the younger generation doesn't really care about this stuff. I was being shown family pictures in their personal photo albums and their family Bibles. Personally, I think that to me wasn't enough. I wanted to know more about the ancestors throughout Eastern North Carolina. Not just my own, but everybody's. So I went to the only place that remains on many of the former homesteads, the American Family Cemetery. They are a finite cultural resource. Once they're gone, they offer a perspective into the past, and they indicate a connection between that family and that piece of land. Tying these sites in with deeds, grants, wills, and other sort of documents allows me to see these individuals associated with their own lands. Who were their neighbors? Who were they? Did they intermarry with their neighbors? Do their neighbors have a resting place themselves? If not, why? This body of work was largely inspired by the archaeological work by Sarah Parkat. She's what NASA coined a space archaeologist, although I promise she wouldn't use that term if NASA hadn't coined it themselves. It is, being a space archaeologist is analyzing high-resolution satellite imagery of potential cultural areas of significance. She acknowledges in her recent book that while aerial imagery has been used to document anthropologically significant sites for the last century, it's really satellites and drones that will be the next step in the field. I'd like to take a minute to point out some interesting data on some of these cemetery sites. I visited the site in person, walked around it, but I couldn't see it from above. I couldn't see the indications, these bright green indications of vegetation, which is really the decomposition of a person. It's fertilizing the soil. And you can see many unmarked graves through this, the ones without the monuments, such as here, and partially in this older section down here. Now this older section is pre-Civil War period. I don't know if that's right, or not. But the upper section is post-Civil War period. Viewing these cemeteries is like a crossword puzzle. You got the husband, the wives, the daughters, the sons, and who goes where is really a mystery. Was it utilitarian use to put the father to the south side of the wife, or was it spiritual use? And talking about the way I view cemeteries as a puzzle, I like to bring two things to mind. I like to look at the context and the content of the site. The context is the history of the site. I'm wondering if there's maybe a brick wall that originally surrounded this site, and maybe it was removed in the 30s during the Depression era. And then in the 90s, maybe they added this chain link fence around it. Or the content of the site. The appearance, which sort of links to the context. But like the appearance, why did they put this specific type of fence around it? Why did they put it in this composition? Or the layout of the cemetery? Why would they put somebody down here and somebody out there? But really, to spoil it for y'all, this isn't just one cemetery, this is three. They all share the same boundary. The older portion is here on the right, the newer portion is a little bit to the north, the southern portion to the south. What's interesting is that most graves face from west to east towards the sun, but the southern portion doesn't. It actually follows the line of the fencing, which might be an indication that the stones or the people were removed sometime in the 1990s. I'll leave y'all off with this. These images represents what essentially is a family portrait of all the generations of the family at rest together. It's not meant to be morbid. It's the anthropological idea of the association of people and their land, that connection that binds individuals, not just through their blood and life, but through their neighboring soil